My name's Cam, and I've lived in South Carolina most of my life, just outside Charleston, in one of those quiet neighborhoods where nothing really happens. I'm used to stillness, to slow days, to silence at night, broken only by the sound of cicadas or distant train horns. But what happened to me a few months ago changed how I feel about being alone, especially in places where no one can hear you scream. This started back in late April. My aunt, who lives further inland near the Francis Marion National Forest, asked me to house sit for her while she took a 2-week trip to New Mexico to visit her sister. I didn't have much going on at the time, so I agreed. I figured it would be peaceful, a little solo getaway in the country, free groceries, a change of scenery, and time to work on some freelance projects. Sounded like a win. Her house sits way off the main road, surrounded by forest on 3 sides, with a small, overgrown dirt driveway that leads to an old wooden fence. Her neighbors are a good mile away in either direction. The house itself is nice. 2 stories, pale blue siding, wraparound porch, lots of antique touches inside. It's the kind of place that looks like it belongs in a Southern Gothic movie. Charming during the day. But at night, it feels different. The first couple of nights were fine. I fed her tabby cat, Cleo, watered her plants, and spent most of my time watching movies or reading. But by the 3rd night, the charm had started to wear thin. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy, oppressive. I kept getting this strange feeling like I was being watched, especially when I stood near the back windows that overlooked the woods. That night, around 10:30, I was upstairs in the guest bedroom finishing a movie when I heard something downstairs. Just a soft click, like a latch being undone. At first I thought it was just the old house settling, but then I remembered I'd locked the screen door to the back porch right after feeding the cat. I paused the movie and muted the sound. Another noise followed, a slow creaking, like a door being nudged open. That got me moving. I stood at the top of the stairs and listened. Everything had gone quiet again. I told myself it was probably just the wind. Maybe the latch didn't catch properly, but my gut was twisting in that very specific way that said something was wrong. I grabbed a flashlight and slowly made my way downstairs. The main door was still locked, but the screen door was swinging gently. Open, just enough to creak with each sway. I locked it again and stepped out onto the porch to shine my light across the yard. Nothing. Just black trees and empty space. I stood there for a few minutes, listening, watching, but there was no movement, no sound. I went back inside, locked everything again, and tried to shake it off. I didn't sleep much that night. The next night is when things escalated. It was about 1:30 in the morning. I was in bed, dozing with my headphones in, when I was jolted awake. Not by a noise this time, but by Cleo. She'd jumped onto the bed and was standing completely still, eyes locked on the bedroom door, ears flattened, tail puffed up. I've seen her hiss at strangers before, but I'd never seen her freeze like that, like a statue carved out of panic. I pulled my headphones out and sat up. The room was dead silent, but I could feel something was wrong. Then I heard it. Thump. Software heavy. A single footstep. I held my breath. Then another. Someone, or something, was walking slowly across the floor downstairs. It wasn't creaking like before. This was a deliberate, steady sound. Not like an animal or the house shifting. Like boots on hardwood. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand and immediately turned the screen brightness down so it wouldn't light up the room. I tiptoed over to the door and opened it just a crack. Cleo slipped past me and darted under the bed. I peeked into the hallway. Nothing. The stairs are directly across from the guest room, and from where I stood, I could see the top few steps. I waited, holding perfectly still. For a while, there was nothing. Just silence. Then, slow and steady, I heard it again. 1 step, pause, another. Whoever it was, they were climbing the stairs. I closed the door gently, locked it, and backed away. I texted 911 and whispered a few details into the phone so I wouldn't make a sound. I didn't even want to breathe too loud. My heart was pounding so violently it hurt. Minutes passed. The sound stopped. I waited, frozen in place, staring at the door like it might suddenly burst open. But it didn't. No footsteps. No doorknob turning, just nothing. I didn't hear sirens, but eventually I saw red and blue lights flickering against the trees through the bedroom window. I ran to the top of the stairs and yelled down to the officers. They came in with guns drawn and searched the entire house. No one was there. No sign of a break-in. Every window was locked. The doors were still bolted. Even the screen door out back was latched. They said maybe I imagined it. Maybe I fell asleep and had a dream. But I didn't. I was awake. I heard those steps. I felt that presence. The weirdest part? They found a partial footprint on the porch, muddy, bare, and small, like a child's. But there are no children nearby, no neighbors, no reason anyone should be out in those woods at night. I tried to convince myself it was just a squatter or a hunter who wandered too close. But that doesn't explain the locked doors, or the barefoot print, or how they got inside, if they even did. After that, I left. I didn't finish the 2 weeks. I called my aunt and told her the truth. She didn't believe me, not really. Thought I scared myself into a panic. Maybe I did, but here's the part that haunts me. About a month later, she called me late one night. I could hear the panic in her voice. She said she'd been out in the garden near sunset when she saw someone, standing at the edge of the woods, small, barefoot, just staring at the house. She called out, but they didn't move. When she went inside and looked again, they were gone. She hasn't seen them since. But she says some nights she hears scratching under the floorboards, or tapping on the windows. Always just one tap, then nothing. Whatever followed me into that house, I don't think it ever left. I haven't really told this to anyone except my brother, and even he looked at me differently afterward. I know how crazy it all sounds, but I also know what I saw. It started 2 winters ago, just after my wife and I moved into a small house about 10 minutes outside of town. The place was old, probably built in the 40s, but it was in good shape and had a huge yard that backed into a patch of dense forest. That's what sold me on it, honestly. I've always liked having a bit of space from people. The first few months were great, peaceful, quiet, a little too quiet sometimes, but that's just part of being surrounded by trees. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday morning. I went out to start my truck before work, and right away I noticed something off about the backyard. The snow was fresh, maybe half an inch thick, but there was a straight line of footprints cutting through it. Not animal tracks, footprints, human. They started right at the edge of the woods and led in a direct line to the back of our shed. Then nothing. No prints going back. Just a clean line from the woods to the shed, like someone walked there and vanished. I didn't think much of it at the time. Probably some hunter or hiker who got lost. Weird, but not terrifying. That night, I went to check the shed. I didn't mention it to my wife. She worries enough as it is. Everything looked untouched. Nothing stolen. But when I turned to leave, I noticed something that stopped me cold. On the inside of the shed door, way up near the top, there were long scratches. Deep ones, 3 or 4 of them, all spaced evenly apart. Too far apart to be made by fingers. I told myself it was just old damage I hadn't noticed before, but I started locking the shed after that. A few weeks passed. Then, early one morning, my wife shook me awake. She was pale, shaking. Said she heard something walking around outside the bedroom window. I got up, grabbed the bat from under the bed, and went to check. There were more footprints. This time, they went around the entire house, circling it, twice. They passed under our windows, across the porch, and ended at the front door. Again, there were no return tracks, just a complete loop that stopped cold. I installed cameras the next day. For a while, nothing happened. Then one morning, I checked the footage from the night before. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the motion sensor had gone off. I pulled up the clip. There was something standing at the edge of the tree line. It was far off, maybe 30 feet from the camera, but you could see the outline of a figure. It stood completely still. No movement at all, not even a sway. Like it had just emerged from the trees and was waiting for something. It stood there for 11 minutes. Then it walked back into the woods. No face, no light, just a shadow shaped like a person, standing and staring. I showed the footage to my brother. He said it was probably someone playing a prank, maybe a kid from town. But there was something wrong with the way it moved. No bounce in the steps, almost like it was gliding. The very next night, we heard a knocking. Not on the front door, not on the windows. It was on the roof. 3 knocks. Then nothing. I ran outside with a flashlight, pointed it up, but saw no one. The snow on the roof was untouched. not even disturbed where the knocking came from. I didn't sleep that night. About a week later, I checked the footage again. Nothing on the camera. But when I stepped outside that morning, I saw something new. Someone, or something, had pressed their face to our living room window. The condensation left behind was still there, a large, round smear just at head height. But what got me was the shape. It wasn't a normal face. The imprint was too wide. The spacing between the eyes was too far apart, like something that only resembled a person. We moved our bedroom to the opposite side of the house that same day. Then one night, just before spring, it came to the door. I didn't see it, but I heard it. We were in bed, lights off, not quite asleep when we both heard it at the same time, breathing, right outside the front door, heavy, slow, deep, like someone deliberately inhaling and exhaling just to let us know they were there. I grabbed the bat again and moved to the hallway. My wife stayed in the bedroom with the phone. I stood at the door, heart pounding, and listened. The breathing went on for a full minute, then stopped. When I opened the door, there was no one there. But in the snow just past the porch steps, I saw two deep, barefoot prints. They were facing the door, but there were no others leading to them, just two prints, as if something had dropped down from the sky and stood there, watching us. We moved in with my brother the next day. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's still out there. But sometimes, when the nights are cold enough, I still wake up thinking I hear that breathing, right outside the door.